We're here in Northern California with Ford to learn all about Ford's first commercial electric vehicle, the 2022 Ford E-Transit. The E-Transit is part of a greater Ford Pro initiative to make it easier for buyers to electrify their fleets and control their costs. So why are we in Sonoma County? Sonoma County takes sustainability very seriously. They're one of the first counties in the state to obtain a 99% sustainability score amongst all of the wineries in the county. Ford is partnering with some of these Sonoma County wine growers in a pilot program to try out the Ford Pro Telematics software and give them access to E-Transit electric vehicles. Let's take a few minutes to learn more about the Ford Pro program and then take this E-Transit right here out for a drive to see what it's like. The 2022 Ford E-Transit is available in 3 different lengths and 3 different roof heights. This is just like the normal Transit, meaning there are no configuration sacrifices to going fully EV. Additionally, E-Transit will be available in cutaway and chassis cab models. Because the batteries are located in the floor, the cargo van has up to 488 cubic feet of capacity and up to 3,800 pounds of payload. Nice! A 67 kilowatt-hour battery powers a 266 horsepower electric motor with 317 pound-feet of torque. That power is then sent to the rear wheels. Ford claims up to 126 miles of range depending on roof height and length. E-Transit can charge up to 150 kilowatts, charging from 15% to 80% in approximately 34 minutes. Employee safety is important in controlling costs and reducing downtime. E-Transit comes standard with autonomous emergency braking with pedestrian detection, lane centering and lane departure warning, auto high beams, and a drowsiness alert system. Ford's entire safety suite, including blind spot monitoring and adaptive cruise, is also available. Ford's Transit is often praised for its driving dynamics and ease. Let's see if that's the case with the electric one. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel to see more in-depth Ford EV news and our upcoming first drive of the all-new F-150 Lightning. So now we're out on the road in the all-new 2020 E-Transit, and if you're watching this as already a Transit customer, whether it's personal or whether it's a commercial, you're probably wondering what that experience is like when the platform is electrified. Really, there isn't much difference. Yes, all of the EV-centricness is here. Instant torque when you put your foot down, regenerating electricity when you let off the accelerator or when you brake. But the biggest takeaway that I have is that it is a Transit. It drives like a gas or diesel Transit that you've already experienced, which means that it has a very car-like driving experience, even on one of these longer wheelbase, higher roof models like we're in. The driving position is spot on. Yes, you're sitting up in the air, so you've got good visibility outward, but it feels like you're sitting in more of a car than some of the competitors like the Ram ProMaster, which kind of has a school bus driver sort of driving position. This is much more car or truck-like, which improves driver comfort, especially if you're going to spend some time in the vehicle. Fatigue will be less, as well as it also being very maneuverable. So yesterday when we were out driving this, we had to do an unplanned U-turn. Turning circle is great. It's a rear-wheel drive Transit, so it tends to have a shorter turning circle than what like the all-wheel drive model would. And realistically, what makes this thing kind of special is, yes, it's electrified, but you can replace your current Transit with this with very little additional cost other than replacing the vehicle. What do I mean? I mean that if you have upfits already installed, let's say you're an electrician or a plumber, you maybe already have toolboxes and stuff in the back, whatever, like all of that will fit because dimensionally this E-Transit is the same as the gas Transit that you can already buy. It's available, as we said earlier, in all 3 roof types, all 3 body lengths, as well as a chassis cab and a cutaway. So it's that same tried and true reliable platform that you're used to building on, just with the electrification. Now, some of the things built into the vehicle to kind of enhance that electrification is there's actually a driver sort of coach that will not only show you on the instrument cluster how well you're braking and things like that, but will also audibly say, oh, you're accelerating too hard, you're braking too hard, this is reducing the efficiency of the vehicle. All of that is transmitted back to the fleet manager through the telematics software, but basically it's designed so that whoever's driving the vehicle, if they are doing behavior that is not conducive to the most range, then it will try to actively correct that along the way. When you're driving an electric vehicle, especially a passenger car or whatever, one of the things you notice sort of right away is that instant torque. You put your foot down, plant your head back, he accelerates. Some cars do it quicker than others, but it's also not the smoothest way of driving. And if you have 6,000 pounds of payload in the back, regardless of what your business is, you probably don't want all of that, your drivers throwing that all around while they're trying to acclimate to the EV driving experience. So Ford has built in a system that will smooth out acceleration and brake inputs so that when there's a load in the van, you become a much smoother driver thanks to the software. So if somebody's driving the van that's new, that doesn't have a lot of experience in an EV, it will help protect and secure. It adds to the security of the cargo by protecting it from flopping around thanks to driver inputs. So it's a unique feature. I haven't seen it on an EV before. It's not like an eco mode that just dampens everything. It's very specific to simulate the experience of there being a load in the vehicle and smoothing that out. So it's cool. We like it. It's defeatable. So if you do not want to use it or your fleet manager doesn't want to use it, it doesn't have to be enabled. So a lot of the electrification features built into this, that nagging system that I talked to earlier that coach your driving habits, all of that can be defeated by either the owner yourself or by a fleet manager if you're set up that way. Other sort of EV features in here, you get a very large sync infotainment screen. It supports wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, so you'll be able to bring your music and your media and stuff with you. It also helps that when you have a fleet driver or something driving it, they can pair their own phone so they can be hands-free. They can also use the system to find charging stations. A lot of that's built into Ford's navigation software. If you've driven a Mach-E, you're a little familiar with that. But if you haven't, it can tell you where the nearest charging stations are, how much those charging stations are going to cost, and can even coordinate payment through the system if it exists on one of the partner chargers that Ford has partnered with. Additionally, the cool thing about being able to use Android Auto or Apple CarPlay is you can also load the Electrify America app or the ChargePoint app or any of the apps that you're already familiar with and run it through that interface. The van comes with lots of safety features, including autonomous emergency braking and lane centering the auto steer. When you're buying this sort of as a single owner operator, you probably just want to have that tech because it helps make your drive or your workday more relaxing. As a fleet owner, you're also going to care about it because it's going to help reduce operations costs because you're going to have fewer accidents and fewer employee injuries. So the active safety stuff is important, and some of the fleet buyers that I've talked to in the past are really starting to emphasize protecting the driver throughout the workday. Other than that, I mean, it drives pretty well. It's a van. You kind of go in with that expectation, but the rear drive setup of the electric makes it feel predictable. Steering's lights without being overly light, and there's lots of space, lots of cubbies, lots of places to store drinks and equipment and paperwork, and this particular one is outfitted with a box at the back, so there's not an open cabin right behind us, so the wind noise and back noise isn't that loud. NVH isn't a super big priority in commercial vans, but it's pretty quiet in here. Overall, I like it compared to like a ProMaster. We haven't driven the electric ProMaster yet, so that's still an unknown, but compared to a gas ProMaster, I do tend to prefer the Transit and that experience. When it comes to EVs, I mean, Ford claims most people are driving right around 70 to 80 miles a day on their Transit, so 128 miles of range should be plenty. If it's not for you, it's not for you. There's still gas-powered Transits that you can buy, but what you'll start seeing over the next few years is these vans slowly starting to make their way into fleets, so eventually where they're all replaced and where they're all electric. which is great. And there's some extra advantages Ford likes to tout of being electric. If you do work in a city or a municipality that has noise ordinances after a certain time, there's no gas motor to run, the onboard generator doesn't make any noise, so you can work during those hours. You can also take the vans places where maybe you wouldn't be able to take a gas-powered van. Some city centers now are banning, at least on the retail side, on residential people driving gas-powered in the city centers in Europe. There's still exemptions for commercial vehicles, but eventually those exemptions will expire, and you'll have to have an EV to do work in the city. So this is the future. This is where we're going, and the great thing about the way that Ford has implemented electricity in the Transit doesn't diminish it being a Transit. The E-Transit is part of Ford's new Ford Pro business. In addition to the hardware elements, Ford introduces fleet telematics software to track usage and stay up on maintenance. It's even compatible with non-Ford vehicles in your fleet. Ford Pro Telematics also covers charging. Let's take a look at how. If you decide that you want to add an E-Transit to your fleet, then your next question is likely going to be, where am I going to charge it? Now, part of the overall Ford Pro solution is they're going to have an expert either come on site or at a dealership do an evaluation of how much energy you're going to need based on the number of vehicles and stuff you have. They're then going to recommend a couple of different solutions. For some business owners, it may be something as simple as a couple of level 2 chargers at their office or at their work. But it could also be building an entire custom depot with DC fast charging as well as level 2 charging. It's going to depend on your client situation. The key element, though, is the management software that comes with it. It speaks to the power company so that it understands when the cheapest electricity is and will control when your vans are charging to save you the most amount of money by using the least amount of electricity that you need to use while still maintaining no downtime with your fleets. You're probably wondering what the cost is. The basic Ford Pro Telematics Essentials is included with the vehicle purchase. A 2022 E-Transit Cutaway starts at $42,295, and a tall roof long wheelbase starts at $52,690. Your local Ford Pro expert will understand and explain all incentives and volume pricing. The 2022 Ford E-Transit is everything that you'd expect from a Transit, just powered by electricity. The bigger story here is the Ford Pro ecosystem, which brings in the hardware, the van, with software and logistics, business financing, and the full support you need to convert your business to an all-electric fleet. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. For in-depth coverage of the 2022 Ford E-Transit, visit our website at evpulse.com.